Hey, how are you doing? My name's Neil. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today's video is a bit of a reminder to myself, and it might be interesting to you as well, that, sometimes tricks start to slip away from you, and it's kind of a reminder to keep on practicing all the tricks that you think you can do. At my kind of age, before you know it, they'll start to slip away if you don't kind of keep them in the bag. So yeah, during a skate session last week, I decided that I need to get back on my kind of learning mission of a particular struggle that I've had ongoing for a while now. And that was actually trying to do a long board slide along the flat wall and then round the corner of the bowl at my local skate park. I've been getting pretty good at board slides over the last few years and being able to hang on to them for sort of quite a long slide, which is cool. I really enjoy doing long board slides. And a goal of mine eventually is to one day do a huge long one around a bowl or pool with pool coping, kind of how Steve Caballero and Jeff Grosso have done them. To me, that just looks awesome. And one day I want to be able to do that. So I've been practicing board slides for a long time now and trying to get them as long as possible. Now, I know I can do them really well on mini ramps, certainly the mini ramp at my local skate park, which is about 4.5 feet high. I can get on it and just, slide for as long as the ramp is. I feel like I've got them in the bag. When I move on to something a bit bigger, the fear factor kicks in and it's more of a height problem. But in the lower section of the bowl that I skate, which is probably about 5 foot, maybe 5.5, I don't have the fear problem so much. But there's another factor with this bowl, and that is that the coping is covered in wax. Like, it is so slippery that anybody that's never skated there before, if they get on there and try a board slide or even like a 50-50, they'll notice and they'll probably shoot out on their first attempt if they go at it with some speed. The coping is completely ice, and that's because there's a group of rollerbladers that go there quite often and they just continually wax that coping. Some of you might be in fits of rage hearing about that. Wax doesn't belong on coping, and I totally agree, but there's nothing that anybody will do about this. That group of rollerbladers seem to be allowed to do it. Nobody's ever there to stop them. The skate park doesn't care, doesn't seem to want to do anything about it. And so all the skateboarders just put up with it. And to be honest, I don't care anymore. I've got used to it. You can go really fast and grind for miles if you want to. It just doesn't feel like anywhere else. So you just have to be prepared and get used to it, which I have. So I don't complain about it anymore. And I've just embraced it and learned to deal with it. So this is not a normal trick attempt on a normal ramp or bowl because the coping is caked in wax. That does mean that I can do really long slides on it, though. Once you get the balance right and you don't start to shoot out, you can go for miles. And so in the not too distant past, sometime last year, I thought I'd start to try and do board slides around the corner of this bowl. And taking into effect how slippery it was, I was very tentative, and I, started slow and tried to build it up. I've landed a few in the past and they've been okay, but I've never got all the way around the corner. I usually turn out kind of halfway round the corner, and it's not a board slide fakie I'm trying to do it either. It's a rock and roll slide because I want to come around the corner and turn out 180 and ride away like rock and roll style. So I've landed a few in the past. They've never been amazing, but I'm kind of not satisfied until I get all the way around the corner. So in this whole mission, I haven't even really been trying to ride away from it. I want to get all the way around the corner before I start to try and ride away. So most of my attempts are bails, and they have been bails because I've not even been trying to ride away. And I won't try and ride away until I get all the way around the corner. So there's some context for you. And last week I decided that I was going to revisit these board slides because I'd left them sometime last year. I was doing so many that I actually started to get a lot of pain in my lower back and my hips and my knees from just the multiple attempts over and over and over again. That kind of body twisting motion, knee sliding out of the bales, yeah, twisting my body, all that stuff. And I just kind of got a bit beaten by it and thought I'd do something else for a while. So yeah, last week I thought I'd revisit, and what I had been doing in the past was sticking in the shallow end of the bowl, doing kind of a rock fakie and a tail stool, and then approaching it at an angle, getting a slide along the flat wall into the corner. And it wasn't that long ago that I sort of realized that to get all the way around the corner, I need more speed. And so what I started to do was drop in at the deep end for speed and carve from the deep end all the way around the hip, and then pump into the board slide on the flat wall and try and get all the way around. So I'll show you some of the footage now so that you can kind of visualize what I'm talking about. And as you see, you know, I'm dropping in the deep end, carving around, making it to that flat wall and getting on the board slide and just seeing how long I can hang on to that slide to get around the corner. I kind of battled at this for a bit, and I started to make some progress on getting around. But after a while, it gets tiring, and, you know, I didn't complete the all the way round thing, but it was good fun, and I'll just keep hammering at those. And really, it's not going to be a case of like, get it once and be happy. I'm going to keep on hammering this because it's something that I want to do often. Like, once I start to get these, you know, it's going to be amazing. I'm going to love it, and I'm going to want to do them over and over again. So I'm not going to leave them alone. So for me, like a lot of tricks, is a slow burn. I always learn my tricks as a slow burn. I don't try and like hammer the hell out of it, get one and go, hooray, I'm done, and move on to the next thing. I want to feel totally comfortable when I learn tricks, and so I slow burn them and ease into them gently. And I feel like when I do it that way, I get them. When I get them, they're proper, they're done right, and it feels right and it looks right, and I'm very happy with it. So that's the way that I work. I don't like sketchy skating. I don't like to look sketchy. I don't like to see people skate sketchy. So everything to me has got to be kind of smooth and kind of done well or done right. I'm a quality over quantity kind of person. You know, you can be the judge on whether my skating looks at all any good or not, but I'm happy with it, and that's the way I work. So yeah, it's a slow burn, and after a while the pain sets in a bit, or the desire to do something very slightly different in that session and not just hammer the whole session doing it. But just in that process of playing with those, it made me realize that I do need to make sure that my standard rock and roll slides, and just coming out of a rock and roll slide just on a flat wall, I need to make sure that they are solid, because the day that I get all the way around the corner, you know, I'm going to have to do the turnout. So I need to be ready for that. Again, on the mini ramp, I do rock and roll slides all the time. I can do quite long ones, and I can turn out of them pretty well. If you were watching my last videos with my new deck, you'll see that I was doing some circuits round and round on the mini ramp and doing just rock and roll slides over and over again. You know, that's just part of the practice routine of making sure that I keep tricks in the bag. But in that video, I also mentioned that I've been skating the mini ramp a bit too much recently, and that means that things start to slip away in the bowl. And although I was trying to do those board slides around the corner of the bowl, I hadn't really done many rock and roll slides on the flat wall of the bowl recently. So I thought, oh, I'll just do some. And I started to attempt some and realized that I couldn't land them. You know, it was slipping away from me. I could go on the mini ramp and do them straight away. But once you get to something a bit higher, is always my case, when I get to something a bit higher, it's almost like learning the trick all over again. And turning out of them in the deeper bowl, it was slipping away from me. So I actually spent a fair chunk of the rest of that session clawing back these rock and roll slides on the flat wall. So that's what most of this footage is going to be. You know, I was trying over and over again, and I just wanted to make this video to remind myself, and for your interest perhaps, of the technique I needed to do to get out of them. So on a mini ramp, doing a rock and roll slide is really easy. I feel like I've got loads of time, and because the transition's so low, I can do quite a lazy turn out of them, and you just get away with it. And I think that's the beauty of learning things on a mini ramp, is that you can start to learn things, and you can get away with an awful lot that you wouldn't get away with on a much bigger transition. So I got really used to just doing them like they were nothing on the mini ramp. And I started to do them in the shallow end of the bowl and realized that I have to focus a whole lot more, and I have to be a lot more conscious of the technique that I use to do them. So if you see my rock and roll slides, or even just my board slides to fakie, in order to stay in the slide a long way, I have to be right up on top. So my back wheels are almost touching the coping, and my front wheels are basically lightly dragging along the platform. So I'm right up on top, kind of decked. A lot of people do them sort of half, the board's half in, a bit like how you do a rock fakie. But that will only take you so far, because when you're kind of half on the coping, you're always fighting gravity, and gravity is going to pull you back in the ramp. So you've got to go really fast to hold it on that angle and go very far, because you're fighting gravity. So it's kind of centrifugal force fighting gravity. Gravity's pulling you back in. If you deck it and you're right up on top, gravity is pushing down, and so you're not fighting it pushing you back in the ramp. You pretty much can go for much longer when you're on top, but it does mean that you have to be very calculating about your balance and where that seesaw point of your slide on the rails of the deck is, because if you put the front truck down or the front wheels down too hard, they hit the platform and you'll lock up and you'll just fly off. So you still got to have that seesaw point, but you want to be up on top. So getting a board slide like that is a whole other process of learning. It's almost a different trick, doing one kind of decked up on top versus doing one half in. You go through a process of kind of relearning the trick. But I do them up there for that reason, to be able to do a longer slide. Approaching the rock and roll slide like that, I almost have to approach it like a decked rock and roll. And those of you that know, I really enjoy doing decked rock and rolls, and that is, pushing the board right up over the coping and the front wheels down on the platform. You're leaning right over and in you go. So you're not standing up on top, you're not half in, half out. Your board's right up on top, and your body is almost horizontal, looking back in the ramp as you turn in. I'll show you some footage of what I mean anyway. And so I practice those decked rock and rolls all the time, and that's how I have to approach a decked rock and roll slide. So riding into it, I'm facing the coping as I go up, and I put my board over. But actually, that really doesn't help me for turning back out again, because a decked rock and roll, as you put the board over, you need to start looking back the other way where you're going in. And so that's how I have to approach the rock and roll slide. So as I put the board over, I'm already turning and looking where I'm going to go back in. While maintaining the slide, I'm still looking that way, and it's all feel, it's all balance. I can't really look at what's going on because I need to be looking over there to go back in the ramp. And so it's all feel and balance. The board is over, I'm sliding like this, and then that helps me rotate and turn back in. And it was the turn back in that was causing me a lot of problems. I was going to make the turn back in, and I wasn't committed to the turn, and I didn't have my body twisted enough to turn. And so I'd start to turn and I get like 90 degrees and have to bail out because my wheels were going to start to hit the surface. I wasn't making the full 180 turn back in. And so I had to reprogram myself and remind myself to be doing it like that. And really, it was like a big arm swing, and go into it already looking, putting my board over, but already looking to go back in, and a big arm swing and a look right back over there to pull my whole body round from the slide. It might not look quite so dramatic as my explanation, but that's what's going through my head. And so it is a real kind of twist your body as you go in, and twist your body to push yourself out and look back the other way. You can't just stand still and be kind of nonchalant and very kind of like tap turn. At least I can't. It doesn't work like that. So it's kind of everything's over exaggerated to sort of push and twist your body around. So going to show you the footage and the multiple attempts, and then those moments where I started to make it all the way around, because I remembered to go in with the twist, with the body twist, and pull out again already twisted. And it's like you're wound up and ready to go. Let me know what you think about this trick, what I'm doing, or whether you have similar things where you know you can do tricks, but you have to spend some time to reprogram yourself and remind yourself how, or at least remind your muscle memory in your body how it's supposed to be, because maybe you got complacent on and your body's forgotten what to do. So yeah, I hope you find that interesting, and thanks for watching the video. And if you like my t-shirt and you want one of these, you can buy one from my store now. They've been pretty popular, that people have been really liking them, so I hope you do too. They ship all over the world, so don't worry if you're not in the UK like I am. There's worldwide fulfillment. So yeah, hope you like the t-shirt. Hope you know what it means. You know, it's a play on words of the original graphic that was around in the 80s. Skateboarding is not a crime, but I mixed it up a bit and said not skateboarding is a crime, which I thought was quite amusing. But yeah, if you like the t-shirt, go get yourself one, and also check out one of these videos. Maybe you didn't see my last one, and you know, see how I'm going with my new deck. But yeah, thanks for watching. Take it easy. I'll see you again soon. Cheers.